So, today we went a little extra on the makeup because I introduced a new skincare product into my routine and my skin is currently in a purging state. Some of you may understand what that means. I think Kim Kardashian probably understands exactly what that means. Or maybe she understands what that meant, because I think at this point in time, she's had her entire skin replaced by an actual Instagram filter, so she doesn't have to worry about anything when she goes out. Kim is an interesting subject. Kim is currently making headlines in the news because, well, she divorced her husband and she's dating someone. And that's a big deal because it's a Kardashian dating someone. Oh my goodness, such headlines. And she's in a state of flux because she's not fully divorced, but she says she intends to be fully divorced and wants to be amicable about it, but also is creating havoc with PDAs with PD, Mr. Pete Davidson himself. And it's not the age difference that we should be concerned about with this, although that is certainly an indication of some of her actual psychological issues. It's the similarities between Pete Davidson and her ex, or soon-to-be ex, or maybe soon-to-be back together with, but probably not, Kanye West. So what we're really looking at today is Kim's nature and her relationship patterns, since we have two very obvious ones right now that we can look at. So when we look at Kim's chart up there, we see that she is quite oriented toward displaying herself publicly. She has so much stuff in the 10th house, like, seriously. She has the Jupiter right on her midheaven, directly opposing her moon on her IC. Her moon's in the 3rd, not in the 4th, and that does make a difference. She also has Pluto, her emotional core orientation is in the 10th in Libra, so to, socially dominate in a fashionable type of way, and this Librian sort of just simply dominating through, the way she dresses and looks and talks and was on a reality TV show. So that altogether is, she really doesn't have any learning functions. She only has display functions. And it's reinforced by her South Node in the 2nd in Aquarius, and that being squared by Mercury, and through extension by Uranus. It's still within orb, 10-degree orb on a square. And that Mercury-Uranus conjunction squaring those nodes shows you that there is a blockage. And that blockage has to do with expanding further beyond simply being a public image, beyond simply using her public image to sell clothing, to get her money by being on TV shows, by not expanding her mind. That's that Jupiter in the 10th in Virgo, and it's opposing that moon, so it's emotionally blocking her from mental expansion, this issue with her public image being her prime and only source of income. And then we have to look at how she got there. I mean, that's quite important. How did she get there? Well, there was that infamous tape that was released, and then suddenly there was Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And it's a jump. One might speculate that it was released deliberately. You could speculate that Kim released it deliberately, but here's the thing. That moon is the femininity blocking her expansion, and that does indicate that it is her mother, in fact, Chris, that is a big issue for her, even though she wouldn't even want to say anything about it or realize it because of that tape being released and then them suddenly getting a deal for Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And her mother was, let's put it honestly, Chris was shameless about getting attention during the O.J. Simpson trial. She was on TV with Kato Kaelin all the time talking about Nicole and how she was her best friend and kind of like straddling the fence as to whether she thought O.J. did it or not, even though she was reportedly saying that she knew O.J. did it because Nicole said something to her about him wanting to do it, and she'd observed all the domestic abuse. And then we add into the mix, there's a little secret there that, Kim really wouldn't want to admit because she worships her father, yet her father was a criminal defense attorney, lawyer, and he, which means that, you're defending people who are possibly guilty, and you possibly know that. And he put together the dream team for O.J. Simpson, yet reportedly had misgivings about having worked to defend him because he rather thought that he was guilty too. So that's a kind of two-facedness that she'd have to come to terms with, that her father was capable of. And then her mother and this shameless self-promotion is something she also has to come to terms with, that she got that from her mother. She wants to be like her father. She wants to contribute mentally, as in she studied to be a lawyer, but because of her mother, she flunked the bar because her mother made self-image the most important thing and not mental acuity. So Kim has kind of missed the train on that, But the squares indicate that it's going to come up, if not in this life, in another. So she certainly will have to face that issue. Now we're going to see how that feeds into her relationship issues. So we know she was married to Kanye. We know Kanye is not a mentally stable person. Here's his chart. He has that Neptune retrograde opposing that Jupiter conjunct the Sun, which shows you where his mental health issues lie and why he has a bit of a God complex that goes along with bipolar, and they've said bipolar, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's bipolar with or without psychotic features because of that Neptune retrograde opposing it, and there being a bit of a God complex there. It's in the 5th house, Leo. That's going to magnify that. He believes his purpose is to teach the whole world how to be spiritual, but by spiritual he means religious. So it's a convince and convert sort of thing, where he is most definitely going to try to convert you to his point of view. His south node lies in the 9th in Aries. I mean, that's an absolute conversion disorder, but not the kind where you convert it to your body. He's just converting it psychologically, because he's trying to convert everybody else into thinking like him, because he thinks he has something when he really has mental health issues that he needs to address, and he won't address. He needs to be hospitalized. He needs to take his medications regularly. He needs to not dress like that, because what on earth is that? That makes me think the with or without psychotic features is more like proto-schizophrenia, and he actually has schizotypal disorder, because it would go along more with his behavior, but he can build into that over lifetimes. There's also this secret issue he has that's kind of weird with his Uranus retrograde in the 4th and his Juno there. Juno again! Oh, the jealousy. Oh, the attraction. And it's opposing his Mars conjunct his Venus, and I mean, you can see that his mother died quickly, early, relatively, because of his money. The Mars and Venus are in Taurus in the 10th. And there's also kind of like a secret, we don't talk about that, him and his mother. There's a little something going on there that's more than just, parent and child. So he's got some serious issues with that, and that's hence the avoiding it with the God complex thing. So he's got serious mental health issues. And then we have Mr. PD in his Calvin Klein's and with Coulson. And, all of his antics, which are really high energy, and you would almost think bipolar, but he is a self-reporting borderline personality disorder. And that's something very different from bipolar. Borderline, many people with bipolar get misdiagnosed as borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder is severe, so, you know, you take it seriously. I have a parent who has borderline personality disorder. It was awful being raised by somebody with borderline personality disorder because you cannot trust them. And so that's another serious mental health issue. In his chart, you can see that he's got Mars conjunct the North Node in Sag in the 10th. That's his humor to dominate, but he's got all that in Scorpio in the 9th. Again, humor, but it's bitter, morbid almost humor, making fun of anything and everything. Nothing would be sacred because of that square from Pluto and the Sun to Saturn in the 1st in Aquarius, and his father's violent death. And him using that to fuel his career, to fuel his reason for his career, to fuel everything, but he's not confronting that issue of why on earth he would use his father's death to fuel his career. He would feel innately guilty about that. And that would indeed fuel a borderline personality disorder issue, which would mean that the face he showed to Kaya Gerber when her parents had to show up and help her was his actual face. I know that for a fact. They do that. They claw, scream, beg you to kill them sometimes. That's a problem. So that's a mental health disorder. And really, that would then stem back to Kim and her mother and her issues with that. And her father tied in, so that she attracts men with mental health issues because her own mother has mental health issues. So she repeats that in the men that she attracts. And that would forever be a problem for her, but also it's an excuse for her to not fully devote herself to the relationship, since she is actually more interested in furthering herself, her self-image, and anything having to do with Kim. Now, we know that Kim really, really wants to be a model based on the clothes she wears, and apparently she wants to look like Kendall now, because look at that. So we're going to call her Kimdall from now on. Oh my goodness. What is that face? Like, I swear that's not Kim Kardashian. She's had some changes done, shall we say. So anyone who, you know, wants to be something that they don't necessarily suit exactly according to the traditional definition, and who changes themselves through plastic surgery and makeup contouring the way that she has a poor self-image, you know. I mean, you want to believe Kim Kardashian has the best self-image in the whole world. She's so narcissistic. Oh my God. But see, the reality about narcissistic people is that they actually have really poor self-images. They are doing that, being narcissistic and forcing themselves upon you, because they don't feel like they're good people or good-looking people inside, or there's some self-esteem issue that's going on, so they sadistically compensate for it by being narcissistic and instead say, no, I'm the greatest, and that's a disorder all on its own. So it's possible she has some issues with that, and maybe that's why she also attracts men with mental health issues. Now, if you want to see Kim and Pete Davidson because they're dating, take a look at that. Okay, so let's look and see, like, what do they really have in common? The things that they have in common are that his Sun and his Pluto are on her Uranus. His Venus is toward her Mercury. Their Mars are conjunct, and with his North Node, that's really pretty much it. They kind of have Juno conjunct. With that signature, yeah, there's this, it's just Uranus is short-lived. It can be very short-lived, and with this Pluto there, you know, this his core emotional structure, if he is really a BPD, which I think Kaya Gerber kind of showed us he is, she's gonna want to leave that. So, and Mars, again, very Aries, very quick-lived, very sexual. Yes, of course, that's what it is. And also, with the sun there, with the Pluto, it's about furthering self-image, public image. She's kind of using him to do more reality TV, to get more in the news, because she's starting to get jealous of her sister Courtney and, of course, Megan Fox and Coulson. So she has to make it so that she's a part of that. I really think that that's what she's doing here. She's making it so she's a part of the trifecta of Coulson Baker, Pete Davidson, and Travis Barker. So there you go. That's what that's all about. Now you might want to take a look at her with the Kanye, currently known as Ye, sort of situation. And you'll see that his Pluto is conjunct her Juno in pretty much the same placement that Pete Davidson's Juno is. And he's got Neptune on her ascendant and Jupiter on her descendant. And he's got Saturn on her north node, and their moons are in the same sign. So, you know, again, there's not a lot of connection between the two of them. I'm surprised they stayed married for as long as they did. It's a really shallow connection. Honestly, it's just about building public image. Neptune on her ascendant, Sun, Jupiter on her descendant. His creation, his artistry, as people call it, helped to get her even more known and give her some legitimacy, I suppose. But what you need to understand about Kanye is that this artistry is coming out of his mental health issue. He truly believes he cannot create if he goes on psych meds to stabilize his disorder so that he's not constantly creating emotional chaos. And that's a problem, because you can create when you're on psych meds. It's not a problem. If you're truly a creative person, psych meds don't spoil that. They simply give you the ability to better control your emotional state, especially in conjunction with therapy, and specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what someone who's truly spiritually developing will use in order to address any psychological issues that they have. And it's simply retraining your mind to sit in a more healthy psychological state. You know, tricks such as journaling. That's an easy one. So we have journaling, you know, and then you can like even write letters to people and burn the letters. And I mean, there's so many different things that you can do that way. And he will do none of them. So that puts him in this state of flux where he's really not safe to be around other people. And she is, I would say, in the right to try to step away from that, because that can be very harmful. But then she's gone for Pete Davidson, maybe mainly just for PR reasons, but Pete Davidson is bad news in a relationship. I think everybody's found that out. He may be fun for a short time, but he's really bad news in the long term, just as any BPD is. I know that because I had a BPD for a parent, and they are awful at relationships. Relationships is just not for them. All right, so let's see what Kim's trajectory is going to be right now. You know, is she going to stay with Pete Davidson? Is she going to get back together with Kanye West? What is she going to do with her relationships? Let's just ask that question. All right, guys, I'll be back. I just got a dark leather suitcase. Okay, I actually ended up asking what's going to happen between Kim and Pete, and then we'll do a yes or no with Kanye afterward. So let's see. Ooh, decisions already been made when it comes to it. The lovers they are not. The King of Cups reversed. That would be Pete Davidson, I think. No, that's Kanye. Pete's the Knight. And then we've got the Two of Wands reversed. They're dead in the water already. Knight of Pentacles over it. Judgment. It's just to further their careers. Queen of Cups. Yeah. Yep. This is more or less a PR move that has already been, it was already decided to be a PR move. Like when she went on Saturday Night Live, they talked about it, and yeah, that's what happened, really. So, and it actually contains an answer about Kanye, so I don't have to ask the yes or no question. The King of Cups reversed. He's dead in the water. They've already ended that relationship. She's not going to go back to it. She's pursuing the Knight of Cups so she can have the Knight of Pentacles situation. So she can appeal to a younger audience, continue to appeal to a younger audience, and so that she can transform herself from, the sorrowful divorcee into the strong, amazing businesswoman, which will somehow help her self-esteem when it comes to not passing the bar and not looking the way that she wants. And it won't, because she needs to do work on herself internally, because that's the only way that she will truly achieve actual happiness. Money is not going to do it. Only emotional wealth. But that's a lesson for her to find out, and we'll have to all watch her find it out, unfortunately, unless somehow the Kardashians disappear and we never have to keep up with them again, which is something I would like. All right, peace, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful time, and I'll talk to you later.